What is up, guys? Welcome, everybody who is here today, hanging out. Um, hanging out, trying to just talk, see what's going off. Just hang out, trying to get my view hours up. So, anyone stops by the stream, come say hello, come hang out. Let's talk, let's chit chat. I'm excited. Let's have a good time. So how's everybody doing today? How's everybody hanging? What's going on with people? What's going on, my peeps, my homeboys, my home skillet biscuits? Actually, you know what? Give me 2 seconds. I know. I should have prepared better, but I didn't. The baby was crying like hardcore. So I was busy with the baby, so I didn't get myself a drink. But I got myself a drink now. And so let's just talk, guys. Let's just talk. Let's chit chat. How's everybody's evening going? What's everybody doing? I'm excited, man. I'm not like one of those emotional Jets fans who's been freaking out about the Jets and freaking out about the season just because Zach got hurt. Really happy, obviously, that the surgery came back and was a success, and we don't have to sit here and worry about injury or anything like that. So that's always good. Love to see that, and yeah. Give me a second. So if anybody's in here, if we got viewers or anything like that, like put some questions in the chat and we'll get going. We'll start talking. We'll start hanging out. I just tweeted it. Cool. So what's going on, guys? My name is Tigo. Welcome back to Talking Jets with Tigo. Jesus Christ, woman. I'm trying to do a live show. All right, my bad. My wife's handling the baby and she needs some things. So yeah, let's talk some Jets. So obviously we're halfway through the week with Joe Flacco, taking his starting reps for the New York Jets, in there, hanging out, doing all those things. And ultimately, I think the conversation that needs to be had is the fact that we need to talk about what's the expectation of, what's the expectation if he does well? Because I want him to do well. I really do. But we have to have a conversation about, what does that look like if he looks good? What does that look like if he's looks bad? What is that, I don't know. We just have to have those conversations. And man, I can't figure out how to get this chat highlight to work, but whatever. We gotta have a conversation about, we know that Zach Wilson has been struggling. That's not new news. That's not a secret to anybody. With this offense and things like that. But obviously he's going into his second year and he needs to develop and he needs to grow. And you have to have a serious conversation, or I guess an evaluation of Zach. And in the situation it goes, what happens if Joe Flacco goes out, and let's assume it's 4 weeks. He's going to miss week 1 and week 2. if that's the case, and Zach is healthy back 100% week 3, week 4, and Joe Flacco's played those games, and let's say we've won week 1 and week 2, which I think are absolutely reasonable conversations, and Flacco looks good, do you sacrifice, like, do you put Zach back in immediately? It's a good question to have, because you got to have an understanding of, one, we do need to evaluate our guy. We got to evaluate Zach. We got to know what Zach is, because we don't know what Zach is as of yet. But the other question that you have to ask is, what is Joe Flacco, and are we in a win now mode? Which is a serious question to ask. Are we trying to win right now? Are we not trying to win right now? What's going on? We don't know. We got to understand that a little bit better. And so, I don't know. It's an interesting conversation to have. If it's up to me, I would put Zach in almost immediately. I want Zach in as quickly as possible. I want Zach playing and taking those snaps as much as possible. I don't necessarily care if we win or if we lose this year, because I think that this is a growing year. This is a developmental year. This is a year where we really truly have to evaluate him, because we don't know what we have in him. And so we got to try to make sure that Zach is the guy. And I would much rather at the end of this year have played Zach 15 games, because he misses the 2 games, and know, like, hey, he's still got work to do in these areas, or, hey, he's our guy, or, hey, he's not our guy, he can't hack it in the NFL. I would rather know that sooner than, let's say, play and get 7, 8, 9, 10 wins with Joe Flacco, and then have a really old quarterback who's taking snaps from under center. We just don't know what we're going to get from him. Not we don't know what we're going to get from him. We know what we're going to get from him. We don't have a future with Joe Flacco, is I guess the point I'm trying to make, right? It's the same kind of fear I had with the signing of Dwayne Brown, and Dwayne Brown getting starting reps. If we go out and we get Dwayne Brown, which we did, and we start Dwayne Brown at left tackle, which we're doing, what does that mean for the development of guys like George Fant and Max Mitchell and Chuma Edoga? Like, I understand pushing those guys down the depth chart is good for their careers, especially a guy like Max Mitchell who needs to put on some weight. So, like, I'm totally on board with that. But how do you risk what's that risk versus reward situation look like? You know what I mean? I guess that's the real question that you got to ask yourself is do we care about their development more or less than the other guy? So it's a fun conversation to have. Make sure the chat box works. There it goes. Yeah, it works. Oh yeah, we found out in the news today that Joe Flacco is one of the 3 finalists for the Hall of Fame. So that's always good. We like to hear that. We like to see that. Let me make this a little smaller and. Let me put it. I'll put it back here. That's good to hear. Joe Flacco definitely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. The fact that he's not there is kind of a travesty. As of right now, he definitely should be there. He's earned it. I think he played an excellent career. He played very valiantly and very strong and powerful football. And so you'll love to see that he's a finalist. Now, the real conversation is whether or not he makes it in, because that's not easy making it in. So we got to see. We definitely got to see. So yeah, guys, if you are in here, drop some questions in the chat. Let's talk. That's what I got the chat up here for. Let's talk. This is a conversation. This is a back and forth. What's going on? What's going on in your minds? How's everybody doing? Let me check the Twitter. Let me make sure I tweeted this. Yep, it's tweeted. Just waiting for people to show up. Just waiting. Waiting. What other things to talk about? Okay. Interesting topic of conversation. If you guys haven't already, I have released my first ever article on Stadium Rant about Quinnen Williams. So head over there and read that. There's also a video that accompanies it on the channel. So if you're interested in learning more about my opinions on Quinnen Williams and what I believe might be his breakout season, go watch that video and go click on the article. It really helps me and helps me grow, and I'm really excited to be doing written stuff. I'm actually working on 3-ish articles right now that'll be coming out over the next couple of weeks. The first one is on the kicking competition. I'm working with Iowan Jet Fan on that one. Really excited about this one. It's going to be real cool, real fun. A good back and forth. I'm really excited about that. And then next is going to be the, what's it called? Is a story dedicated 100% to the tight end room. We've got a lot of tight ends, and all of the tight ends survived the first wave of cuts, which I'm really happy and excited about. But we've got a lot of tight ends, and when you've got to cut down this roster to 53 people, it's hard to imagine that we're going to carry more than 3 tight ends, and you got to have a conversation of what 3 tight ends are that. Do you sacrifice another position to carry an extra tight end? We've got a lot of talented guys that might not survive the cut and send to a practice squad. Guys like Kenny Yeboah or Lawrence Cager, which is a big fan favorite this off season, because you got to assume that the 1, 2, 3 is going to end up being CJ, Tyler, and Jeremy. And I'm assuming we're only going to go into the season with 3 tight ends. Normally a team will carry a 4th one, but our 4th slot is being taken right now in my mind by Nick Bawden, and he's a lock on the roster. Like, outside of like him and Zach Wilson, like, they're the only 2 guys that I look at that like, these guys are 100% making the roster. Nick Bawden is that good, and I'm actually working on an article about Nick Bawden specifically. It's all on why he's an elite player at his position and why the Jets finding him as a diamond in the rough was a big deal. And so I'm working, like I said, on that, on a tight end article. I'm working on a fullback article, and then I'm working on an article about the kicking competition, Eddie versus Greg. Who should we pick? Who shouldn't we pick? And all of that stuff. It's excuse me. It's an interesting conversation to have. It's an interesting analytical conversation to have, because you have the people that believe in Eddie's accuracy, which is just barely above average, and like barely above average. And then you have people that believe in Greg's raw power, right? Like, Greg has one of the most powerful legs in that kicking world. So you got to have that conversation of like, do you want the accuracy or the power? Like, because you know that with Greg, even though his accuracy might not be as high as Eddie's, that he can take a 50, 60-yard field goal, and like, you can be confident that he can maybe get that in. Where Eddie, you really got to get in within the 40, right? He's not. You're not going to trust him to hit a 50-yarder or anything like that. And then he's got some other things in his game that you might not necessarily be a fan of. And again, I don't want to spoil it, because me and Iowan are going to work on that, and we're going to be publishing and producing that and putting that out there. So exciting news there. And then, yeah. So working on those articles. Jets Joint, it's a Stadium Rant website. So go favorite that. Go favorite my author page. Helps me out. I really appreciate it. Guys, the channel's also growing at an insane rate. I still can't believe this. We're at 1,400 subscribers. Like, I hit 1,000 last week. We're already at 1,400. Channel is booming, exploding. I honestly don't know what's going on. It's crazy to think about with that. But But I just wanted to say thank you for all the people who stop by and hang out and do all that stuff. Dark Soldier in the house. What's going on, Dark? What's going on, Mike? Thanks for stopping by, guys. I want this to be an interactive conversation. So drop your questions. All the comments, no matter what, are all going to appear right here. Chat box, something different. A lot of Jets YouTubers highlight comments, and I just wanted to have the whole chat so everybody can see what I'm seeing and what I'm talking about, and I don't have to highlight it. And we can just hang out and talk football. Nothing in particular that I'm trying to have a conversation about. Like I said, let's just talk football. Let's just hang out. Let's just have a good time. So yeah, anything that you guys are concerned about, anything that you guys have questions about, remember, I'm the football mind. No, I'm kidding. I don't want to be that guy. But yeah. Working late on a new project, just listening. Well, thanks for stopping by and listening, Dark. If you do come up with something, let me know. You know what? This is what I'm going to talk about. I want to talk about our defense. And schematically, how our defense plays. Because I feel like people have a misunderstanding of how our defense plays. But before I get into that, Mike drops the comment, I really hope we're not in trouble with Zach Wilson. We need him to develop this season. I totally agree with that whole sentiment of, like, I hope we're not in trouble. We do need him to develop. But I was talking about this earlier when no one was in chat, no one was talking to me. But I was talking about this earlier where I was saying, I'm not that concerned with Zach's development this year. I do want to see a very clear step forward. Like, I don't want to see him regressing. But I'm not that worried because ultimately the year that I take into consideration the most, the year where it's just like if he's not the guy, then I'm worried and I'm drafting another quarterback and trading him away and doing the Sam Darnold thing, is year 3. If by year 3, Zach hasn't taken that step forward and we're not a guaranteed lock playoff team competing to get into the playoffs and things like that, especially with how this team is being built, then I'm worried, honestly. If our pick next year is a single-digit number, our first round pick is a single-digit number, then I'm worried. Not next year, but the year after that. If we're picking 8 or 9 in Zach's third year, after his third year, I'm worried. I'm looking at trading up into the top 5, into the top 3 to go get a quarterback that year. Trying to get the kid who's now at USC or something like that. Because by year 3, Zach should be the guy. We should know exactly what Zach is. We should know exactly what we're going to get out of the guy. We should know everything. How do we get... Okay, that's one way to think about it, I guess. Our cheerleaders are already relatively attractive ladies. And they're also not allowed to talk to the players. Like, that's a strict rule for a lot of those cheerleading camps. It's like, hey, you're just not allowed to talk to the guys at all. Very, very, very weird comment. But hey, thanks for stopping by. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. Really appreciate it. I guess. It's weird. But okay, let me go back. Since I answered that question, we're waiting for other questions. Flight girls. Yes, they are. The flight crew. Are they the flight girls? Are they not the flight crew? Whatever. The ladies who are on the sidelines and dance are already not allowed to talk with the players. That's a rule for most of these NFL teams. Like, they're not allowed to interact or anything like that. Like, I heard that the facilities aren't anywhere even near each other. Like, where like the girls like practice and rehearse and all that stuff. They're like out in the middle of butt crack nowhere, which is interesting. They're like so far away, but I don't know. But defense. Let's talk defense. And how the defense gets production and makes stops. And why it worked. Boom, I knew it was right. It's the Jets flight crew. Alrighty, bud. Someone needs to go in timeout. Someone needs to go to timeout. You're going to horny jail. Get rid of those. But defense. Where does our defensive production come from? What's going on there? How do we handle it? What do we do about it? So let's talk about it. Our defensive production and our defensive philosophy, it boils down to one thing, really. And that's our front four, our defensive line, no matter what the play call is, no matter what is happening, you are rushing to get to the passer. And a lot of people misunderstand this and they think, oh, you're rushing to get to the ball. And that's not their job. That's not what they're coached to do. It's not what they're told to do. The defense is told, get to the passer. Get to the quarterback. Disrupt the pocket as much as possible. And so why are we doing this philosophy? One, we're in a passing league. More teams and more teams and more teams are passing the ball an extraordinary amount. A great ways and a great place to look at that is the New York Jets themselves. A lot of people consider us a run-first team. That being said, we ran the ball the fewest times out of any team last year. We threw the ball so much last year. And that was with a pretty adequate running game. Michael Carter was really productive in there. Tevin Coleman, when healthy, was productive in there. And that was it. You can find out the 53-man roster. They're online, Sergeant Mike. Pro Football Reference will have the 53-man roster saved. They don't have the people that we cut, but they have the whole 53-man roster. And the breakdown depends on everybody, right? You have a kicker, a punter, a long snapper, and then every team does things a little bit differently. And every team carries a different amount of things. And that's where that conversation comes in of like, last year we carried 4 tight ends the whole year until week 11 when we picked up Nick Bawden. Then we carried 3 tight ends and 1 fullback, and then we carried 3 running backs. We're also a team that likes to carry 6 wide receivers. Some teams only carry 5, and they'll carry the extra running back, or they'll carry an extra tight end, or they'll move that position that they're carrying to the defense, and they'll carry an extra safety, because some teams carry 5 safeties instead of the normal 4. Some teams will carry only 3 safeties, and they'll carry an extra corner that can also hybrid and flex back to the safety position in case of injury. So there's the philosophy on how you build a 53-man roster is very, very different, and there's not like an even split breaking it down specifically. Because, like, for example, like if you're looking at the trenches, even though we play 5 offensive linemen every play and we only ever play 4 defensive linemen every play, the likelihood that this year we're going to carry way more defensive linemen than we do offensive linemen. I think we carry 9 offensive linemen. We're going to carry 4 tackles, 3 guards, and 2 centers. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, 9 offensive linemen. There is a good to fair chance that we carry 11 or 12 defensive linemen, which is an insane amount. Normally, a team will carry 9 or 10. Most teams will carry 10. 4 interior guys, 6 edge guys. But there's a good to fair chance that we carry like 11. We have so much talent on the edge position. Another example of that is most teams carry 6 linebackers. There's a good shot that we only carry 5. And we put some guys on the practice squad because we have guys on this roster that'll survive a cut and move to the practice squad. So there's a good shot that we just carry 5 linebackers, and you just hope that no one gets hurt, especially because we have linebackers that converted to safety on the team, you know, or safeties that converted to linebacker. So like, and that's another one where we could carry just 3 safeties because we have Hamza and Jamian Sherwood, guys who played safety in college that can transition back to the safety role, and corners that could do the same thing. Michael Carter II played safety at Duke a little bit, you know. Who's that? You want the medicine? It's right here. No, I'm live. It's all good. Yeah. Do you want this? Okay. Put it back in the kitchen. No, it's all good. Wife came in, giving me updates on the baby. I know that's why I was wondering how Salah did it last year as a guideline to his thought process. Last year it didn't matter because whoever we cut was not being picked up by anybody. It's not, and the other thing is I don't like looking at last year as a guideline because last year's weaknesses, positions that we would have to carry extra players on because we were worried about injury and we were worried about all of that stuff, doesn't really exist anymore, right? Like, our biggest weaknesses last year were what? Corner, and then corner. I'm just trying to think. Corner, edge, linebacker, safety, all the positions that we had all the injuries on, right? So we probably carried extra players on those spots just to be like, you know what? We're just going to carry these extra players. But let's talk about it. So we carried into the season, we carried three quarterbacks, which I don't see us doing this year. Roster spots are just too valuable to carry three, in my opinion. So don't see that happening. We carried 4 running backs, and we really rotated those running backs a lot. We carried 6 wide receivers, and again, a lot of wide receivers got the nod. We carried, like I said, 4 tight ends until we brought in what's his name? Oh my gosh, why can't I think of his name? Nick Bawden. Sorry, Jesus. It escaped me. So we brought in Nick Bawden. We carried 2 punters at one point. Well, we put one on IR when Braden Mann went down. We had 3 kickers last year. But yeah. It's an interesting breakdown. But if we're gonna do let's do a breakdown this year. Let's have that conversation. Let's look at the depth chart and let's talk about it. Who gets what's going on, Hawk? Welcome in. We're talking about the 53-man roster. What do you do with the 53-man roster with so many positions that we've got good depth on? How do you handle that? So let's talk about it. Let's talk depth chart. Let's do it. So we're going to have to carry 3 yes, very Gotham Green. I took it straight from the Jets website and it said, hey, you can use this for whatever you want. I was like, cool. Just picture of the New York City skyline, Jets logo in the bottom left, and Gotham Green everywhere. But I think we have to carry 3 quarterbacks going into week 1 and week 2. If Zach's not starting week 1, which sucks because I don't really want to use that, have that extra roster spot on a QB, but we need to. So 3 quarterbacks. I think those 3 quarterbacks are really easy to look at. It's Zach Wilson, Joe Flacco, and I think ultimately we trade Mike White away. So I think it's going to be Chris Streveler, and then we find some bum and put him on the practice squad to be there. I think we carry 3 running backs, and I think that it's ultimately is Breece Hall, Michael Carter, and then ultimately Bam Knight. I was not the biggest Bam Knight should make the roster fan. I always thought, you know what, the kid's good and he's got potential, but he should probably make the practice squad this year. I don't think that he's going to get picked up. But I also remember that we also gave him like a $700,000 contract, like 1-year contract as a UDFA with a lot of guaranteed money to get him to come to the Jets. So it almost feels like you kind of have to play him. Wide receivers, I think we carry 6 wide receivers. I think that's pretty standard. That's what we did last year. You're going to see 4 guys who are going to see the field, 1 kind of fringe guy, and then 1 special teams guy just in case injuries happen and something like that. And then those wide receivers are probably going to be Elijah Moore, Corey Davis, Garrett Wilson, Braxton Berrios, Jeff Smith, and Denzel Mims. Not in that order. That's how they're listed, so that's how I read them. I think we carry 3 tight ends, CJ Uzomah, Tyler Conklin, and Jeremy Ruckert. I just don't see how we can afford to carry the extra. Let me pull up a calculator to keep track of all of this. I don't see how we can afford to keep 3 plus 3 plus 6 plus 3. So we're at 15 right now. We're still on the offensive side of the ball. So 3 tight ends. Like I said, I don't think we can afford the 4th tight end. We're going to carry Nick Bawden. So there's your fullback there. So +1. Hawk, going into this season, I thought no way we carry 3 QBs, but after Zach's injury and considering Flacco's age and the fact that Mike White knows the system and is very capable of running the offense. I don't know if Mike White's the 3rd QB. I think we give it to Chris Treveler. I look at it and I go, there's value out there for Zach. Not for Zach. Well, there is probably for Zach. But there's value out there for Mike White. You can convince a team that Mike White is a good quarterback and that he can come be your high upside starter. So, like, look at a team that might not be totally sold on their starters. Seattle might not believe in Drew Lock or Geno Smith, and Mike White might be an option. You know, staying in town in New York. Do the Giants like Daniel Jones? And who's backing up Daniel Jones? I actually don't know. Tyrod Taylor. So I guess they've got their backup. And Tyrod was taking snaps with the ones. But, like, you just got to look at, like, the teams that maybe don't believe in their guy. Chicago might be a team where just like, hey, we might want a high upside guy. What's his name? Likes to run the ball a lot. He might get injured. That's an interesting conversation to have. New Orleans Saints might be a team that want to do that, just to get a backup. Houston, the Texans, Indianapolis might want something behind Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan's old as balls. And those are the teams that I look at where I go like, hey, Trevor Siemian and Nathan Peterman are the guys starting behind Justin Fields. So you can trade him. So you can trade him to Chicago. That's an interesting conversation to have. Andy Dalton is backing up Jameis Winston. So and they drafted Ian Book. So they've got their 1, 2, 3. Kyle Allen and Jeff Driscoll are backing up Davis Mills. They might want Mike White to come in and back up Davis Mills and have that competition going. Nick Foles is in Indianapolis, so never mind on Indy, but that's my take there. So Sergeant Mike, if Zach is not playing week 1, there must be a temporary injured status, so he is not one of the 53 week 1 unless he is playing. The problem with that is if you put someone on the injured reserve, they're required to miss a minimum number of games. So he won't be put on an injured reserve list or anything like that. He will take a 53. He will take up one of the 53 spots because of the way that the rules are written, because they didn't want teams putting a guy on IR for 1 game and then bringing him back the next game. They wanted, because you also get cap relief for the IR. You like some of that contract goes away so that you can facilitate bringing in a replacement player. So they really didn't want teams doing that, and it makes sense. So if you get put on IR, there's a minimum number of games that you have to stay on the IR, and that's the problem. So Zach will be on the 53-man roster no matter what, even if he doesn't play week 1. Even if he's not in New York week 1, if he's still in LA for whatever reason, he's going to be on the 53 because that's how it goes. Hawk, I think we go 3 QBs, maybe Mike White will be worth something after this year. I just don't see Mike White playing this year. Like, a lot of things need to go wrong for Mike White to play, in my opinion. Zach needs to go down again, and Flacco needs to go down again. And I understand that you're going to bring up the Sam Darnold year where Sam gets hurt, and then Simeon comes out and blows up his leg, and now we're playing that other guy who's not even playing in the league anymore. But my thing is like, the third QB is just a guy, right? He's just a jersey. If you're on your third QB, you're not winning games. And Mike White has value, in my opinion. Hawk, continuing long-term, I would say we get something from Mike White, but we actually need Mike White week 1 against the Ravens D if Flacco gets banged up. That's real. No, yeah, look, you're right, but like, Streveler showed that he could game against the third stringers and the fourth stringers, and if our backup quarterback in Flacco goes down and we have to play our third string quarterback, like I'm sorry, but I don't believe in Mike White to win that game against the Ravens. like at all. We saw Mike White do magical things against the Bengals, but like look at the next week, right? Like if Mike White were to play all of last season, he would have thrown 40 interceptions at the pace that he was going on like the 3 or 4 games that he started. So it's just like, I'd rather take a shot on a guy like Streveler who won the CFL Grey Cup and all of that stuff. And the guy's a gamer and he wants to win and he's not willing to sacrifice his body kind of a thing. So that's my thing. Continuing, Streveler made some plays against practice squad guys who got cut the next day. He hasn't even seen the playbook yet. And Mike has been here 2 years. Look, I'm not like I said, I'm not against Mike White. I just don't look at Mike White as like a solution to if we win game. What's going on, John? Welcome in. I don't look at Mike as a serious solution for us to win games. If Mike White is playing, we might as well just like see what we have out of Chris at that point. Like, because we're gonna lose that game. It's very hard for me to look at Mike White and say, I believe in that guy to win games. And that's why I say that Joe Douglas can maybe trick teams into believing in Mike White. So that's what I would try to do, is trick a team into thinking that Mike White is a high-end backup. I don't think he is. I think he's a relatively like, hey, if he comes in, like he can coast kind of a thing. But I'm just hoping that none of those guys ever see the field. And I got a little bit of a bias here. If Mike White gets traded, the number 5 jersey opens up, and I really want to see Garrett Wilson in number 5 again. So going back to the list, we ended on fullbacks. So let's talk offensive line. We already talked offensive line, but if you want a specific breakdown, I think we go 4 tackles, 3 guards, and then 2 centers. Why that breakdown? Well, I'll tell you why. Here are the 4 tackles that I would take in. You obviously take Dwayne Brown, George Fant, Chuma Edoga, and Max Mitchell. Those are the 4 tackles that you take into the year. And then on the guard, the great thing that we have is that our guards and centers are interchangeable. And what I mean by that is our backups. Nate Herbig is definitely going to be the 3rd guard behind Elijah Vera Tucker and Laken Tomlinson. And he has also taken snaps at center. So if Connor McGovern goes down, Nate Herbig can step into there. And then who we back up Connor McGovern, the 2nd center, would probably be Dan Feeney in my 53-man roster. So ultimately, 9 more guys there. That puts us at 25 offensive players as of right now. But let's go to the defense. And we're going to work the defense back to front. And let me add the special teams guys. Let me just add the long snapper, punter, kicker. So we're at 28 roster spots. That leaves us with 25 spots left. Kind of like what you said, I guess. That's crazy. So 20, let's go. From 25, we're going to carry probably 4 safeties. You probably looking at carrying Jordan Whitehead, LaMarcus Joyner, Ashton Davis, and Jason Pinnock. That's 21. With the linebackers, I think we only carry 5 linebackers: Marcel Harris, CJ Mosley, Quincy Williams, Quan Alexander. And then, we got to carry 6, right? So I guess we carry 6 because you got to bring both Jamie Sherwood and Hamza Nasruddin. So we carry 6 guys there. And then let's look at corners. You're going to carry DJ Reed. You're going to carry Sauce. You're going to carry Bryce Hall. You're going to carry Brandon Eccles. You're going to carry Michael Carter II. And you're going to carry... Ooh. Interesting. Do you carry the real question here is you got DJ, Sauce, Bryce, Brandon, Michael Carter. I swear we had another safety. Another corner. Who's the other corner that I'm thinking of? Why can't I think of their name? Why are they not showing up on my list? Javelin Guidry. Did we cut Javelin Guidry? Guidry didn't get cut, did he? No, yeah. No, we haven't played Bawden yet in any snaps. So yeah, we haven't cut Guidry. So Guidry would be the 6th corner in my book that we would carry. So that would mean cutting Justin Hardy. You have to take Guidry over Dunn. Dunn's an outside corner. We've got way too many outside corners. First of all, hello Cameron and hello Sean. And I know I should know this by heart, but how am I supposed to know the 6th and 7th corner, Sean? Isaiah Dunn's just a jag, dude. He's just a guy. He's just another guy. I don't ever want to see Isaiah Dunn playing ever. So you got 6. You have 6 corners going into the year, especially because Guidry's there to be Michael Carter II insurance, right? Because Michael Carter and Guidry are their own position in like the slot corner, and the other corners are like the actual corners. They're outside corners. Your DJ Reeds, your Sauce Gardners, your Bryce Halls, and your Brandon Eccles. So like if Isaiah Dunn wants to win a spot, he needs to beat out Brandon Eccles essentially. Like that's the spot that he's got to beat out, or he's got to hope that we trade away Bryce Hall. If we trade away Bryce Hall, then he's got to convince the offensive staff that he is better. He is more valuable than Justin Hardy, because we know what the special teams coordinator talking about it. But I would rather see Guidry on the field than Dunn, in my opinion. Like if Guidry's playing in the slot, I feel more comfortable with that than if Isaiah Dunn plays on the outside. Like for Isaiah Dunn to play, you know how many injuries have to happen? Bryce Hall, Sauce Gardner, DJ Reed, and Brandon Eccles all need to go down for Isaiah Dunn to play. Like that's how hurt we have to be. And I don't want to see that. But again, and then that leaves us with 9 defensive linemen. And this is where it gets interesting, because you have your locks, right? Quinnen Williams, Jonathan Franklin Myers, Carl Lawson, Solomon Thomas, Jermaine Johnson, Jacob Martin. Wait. Carl Lawson, Solomon Thomas, Quinnen Williams, 1, 2, 3, JFM, Jacob Martin, JJ, Bryce Huff, Michael Clemens. That leaves us one left. Leaves us with one guy left. Who do you take? Jabari Zuniga, Vinny Curry, Sheldon Rankins, Jonathan Marshall, Tanzel Smart. It's a hard conversation to have, because you only have 9 spots. And this is what I was talking about like do we carry 6 linebackers? Do we sacrifice one of Jamie Sherwood or Hamza Nasruddin and try to get them on the practice squad? Do you sacrifice one of the quarterback spots, especially if you're going to carry 6 wide receivers? Do you carry 6 wide receivers? Do you just say, screw it, we're going to carry 5? Did I carry? No, I think I did JFM and Jermaine, right? Carl, Solomon Thomas, Q, JFM, Jacob. Wait. The starting 4: JJ, Jacob Martin, Huff, Clemens. There it is. Those are the exact same guys. So who's the other guy? Has to be Jonathan Marshall or Tanzel Smart, because you can't carry Huff. Or like you can't carry Zuniga or an eye. You need another interior guy. Like you gotta carry an interior guy. Probably Nathan Shepard, right? Doesn't he have the bigger contract? Because you don't want to cut him and take the dead cap. Or no, I don't think it is a dead cap. Whoever has the big money, you cut that guy and take that cap savings into the next year. But you got to have that real conversation of like, do you carry? I agree with the Tanzel Smart over Rankins. Oh yeah. Sorry. And so like that's where those conversations come in, is like, is that third quarterback that important, especially when you have guys on the team like Jeff Smith and Nick Bawden, who were both college quarterbacks, right? So technically speaking, you could say that we're 4 deep at quarterback. Technically, if you only carry 2 quarterbacks. Or do you carry the 6 linebackers? Do you sacrifice one of the guys? There's no way Vinny Curry makes this roster, in my opinion, Hawk, like at all. And then Sheldon Rankins is another one where I look at it and I go, I don't see him making it. And you cut Solomon Thomas. You're keeping Sheldon Rankins over Solomon Thomas. That won't happen. Solomon Thomas got paid. Yeah, no, Clemens is going to be an interior guy. Clemens is an interior guy more than anything. We have too many edge guys for him to play out there, and with how powerful and how long he is, he for sure plays on the interior on third downs, and he starts working. He's going to have a very JFM-esque career, right? He's going to start on the inside, and he's going to rotate out later on in his career. I would not be surprised if by the end of JFM's contract, we don't keep JFM around. We let him go because we give Michael Clemens the JFM contract, and and Clemens bumps to the outside, and he's a primary edge. I think a lot of people are expecting that Jonathan Franklin Myers is going to bump back inside, and I don't think he will. There might be some snaps and some downs where he does, but I don't think he pops back inside. I think he's for sure a starting edge guy next to Carl Lawson, and the guy who we look at the pass set downs to come into the middle is going to be Michael Clemens. Like, if it's third down, ultimately the guys that I want out there are Carl Lawson, Jonathan Franklin Myers, Quinnen Williams, and Solomon Thomas. But if we're going to do like a third down special package of just straight not elite, but like lethal pass rushers, you got to put Jacob Martin into that mix, because Jacob Martin, what he did for Houston last year was really, really good. He did it at a very, very high level. Michael Clemens is such a good pass rusher. You got to do that. Carl Lawson, again, is so disruptive in the pass rush. And then it's Quinnen Williams, right? I want Quinnen Williams taking all the snaps that he can possibly take. So there's a lot of conversations there. Lawson, Q, JFM, Martin, Johnson, Clemens, Huff are my only locks. Everyone else is up in the air. Lawson, Q, JFM, Martin, Johnson, Clemens, Huff. That leaves you with two people. And I think Solomon Thomas is in there, is in that list of a lock. They paid him big money, and Salah and JD love him to death. So he's not going anywhere, in my opinion. He's on the roster. Everybody is competing for one roster spot on that defensive line. That's assuming we only carry 9, right? You have to remember, we can cut in other positions. We don't have to carry 6 wide receivers. So if we carry 5 wide receivers instead of the 6, boom, that's another defensive that's a defensive line spot. So now we can carry, not only can we carry like Zuniga, but we can also carry somebody else. You know what I'm saying? So, or the plan that I'm kind of on board with is like, sorry, is my baby awake? Nope, he's asleep. Sorry. You got to have the conversation of, do you carry 6 linebackers? Can Hamza or Jamian Sherwood survive a cut down to the practice squad? I don't know. But if we carried 5 linebackers because we play so much nickel and dime coverage that we're really, a majority of the time, only ever running 2 linebackers, it's a serious conversation to have. It's a serious question to ask. Because like I said, we don't know what's going to happen there. So it's we have a lot of versatility and we have a lot of depth on the defensive line. And as we start getting closer and closer to the 53, we're going to see a lot of moves that are going to surprise a lot of people. Like, I think the big one for me, I think the one that's going to happen is the Vinny Curry's going to get cut. I don't see Vinny Curry making it on this team. Not because he's not good or anything like that, but because we've got other talent. Are you going to keep Vinny Curry or are you going to keep Jabari Zuniga after he finally started showing what he can do in camp? It took him 3 years. The kid that you drafted, are you going to keep the kid that you drafted that's nice and young? Like, 25 years old? Or are you going to keep the 34-year-old who's been injured the last 2 years? I'm keeping Zuniga at that point. Hey, John, let's go. Welcome to Jet Nation. New grandson. That's awesome. Yeah. That's why I think I get yelled at by a lot of people on like YouTube, like other YouTubers, and in the comment section and on Twitter about this. But I just don't see how we can, with the roster that we have, how we can hold on to some of the depth that we have, especially the guys that have trade value. How do we hold on to a player like Bryce Hall when he's your fourth corner, right? How do you hold on to a player like Jabari Zuniga and Bryce Huff when they're your sixth edge rusher? Those guys have value. Bryce Huff more than Jabari Zuniga. How do you hold on to a guy like Mike White? How do you hold on to a guy like Denzel Mims? All of those guys have trade value. There are teams out there that are probably desperate for a player like that. You can trade that away and you can get something back. You can get 6th or 7th round pick. And we're not a team that's in super win now mode. And sometimes it's a 5th or a 6th or a 7th round pick is what you need to get that last bit of points to get it over the top to get the other team to accept the trade. You know what I mean? There's a lot of conversations that need to be had about that. Because ultimately, we just don't know. And so for me, I think we carry one less of one of the positions that is either quarterback, wide receiver, or linebacker so that we can carry 10 defensive linemen. In an ideal world, we would take one less at 2 of those positions so that we could take 11 defensive linemen, but I think that's a bit much. I would like to carry 10 defensive linemen. If I was a betting man, I say our 9D linemen are Lawson, Q, JFM, Martin, Johnson, Clemens, Huff, Thomas, and Smart. Clemens, Q, Thomas. Yeah, you got 4 interior guys, 5 exterior, and then 5 edge guys. We are really deep. It's gonna be a hard cut. That's probably what I see too if we keep it at nice. But yeah, man. Lauren Shorty, thank you for stopping by. Bam Knight is right now. He's my 3rd running back on the team. It's hard to look at him and say that he survives a practice squad cut. But the thing that concerns me with Bam Knight not making the roster is Tevin Coleman. Not because I think Tevin Coleman's better or anything like that. It's just that this roster, this staff loves Tevin Coleman. So do they take Tevin Coleman? Do they decide to keep Tevin Coleman because he's so familiar in the system and he's had so much success in the system? Do you keep him over a guy like Bam? I wouldn't. I like Bam, and he brings something to that room that we don't have. But this staff really likes, and I mean really, really likes, what's his name? Really likes Coleman. Right? They brought him from San Francisco. It's those guys where it's like, I'm worried about Shep. Like, I'm worried that they might not cut Shep because they just like how good of he's just a workout warrior, you know what I mean? See, Smart, I think, got a lot of hype and got a lot of stuff because of what was happening off of the edge, but also because he was playing against 3s and 4s. But it's interesting to see how it keeps going through the development stuff. So we'll see. We're gonna have injuries. Like it's one of those things where, like, unfortunately, the expectation that we're not gonna go into week 1 hurt is just unrealistic. Now you hope that it's none of the major important pieces. But the thing that you got to take into consideration is that Baltimore is going to be going through the same thing. They're going to have their guys hurt. They were like the 2nd most hurt team in the NFL behind only the Jets last year, I think. Like look at them right now. Their linebacker, one of their linebackers already, 3 of their linebackers are already out. David Ojabo's hurt. Marcus Peters is hurt. Tyler Linderbaum is hurt. Their left tackle is hurt. 2 of their wide receivers is hurt. Their 3 starting running backs are hurt. They've got a lot of people that are hurt. And when I say 3 starting running backs, I don't mean the running back who takes the ball under center. I mean the other running backs. The ones that the running back hands the ball off to and sometimes throws the ball very, very inaccurately and badly to. That running back, he's okay. But the other running backs, J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, Mike Davis, they're all hurt. They've got a lot of people that are hurt. They've already got 2 people on the IR. Like, we're walking away. We're doing pretty good. Zach Wilson is hurt. Vinny Curry is hurt. And DJ Reed is hurt. That's all for right now with guys that are, like, injured. Greg the leg is currently injured, but I think that's just because they gave him a rest day at practice. So they have to mark him as questionable. But I don't think he's actually hurt. But yeah, everyone goes into to things. Calvin Jackson, the wide receiver. He could be a practice squad guy that could ultimately turn into what Braxton Berrios is if he really works on it. The guy for me that I'm a fan of, and if he can develop his game, if he can hang out on the practice squad and he can learn. And he can just stay back there and learn and develop. For me, is Irvin Charles. I liked Irvin Charles. Jeff Smith is, I think, a guy that makes the roster. Because I just don't see Denzel Mims on the roster. You could probably get like a 4th-round pick for Denzel Mims for a desperate wide receiver team. The Bears will give up a 4th. If you package Mike White and Denzel Mims, you could probably get like a 2nd or a 3rd. Because we don't need anything in return. We just literally want the picks. They're a whole new regime there, and they want to start adding assets. Who wouldn't want to take a 2nd-round pick talent who's big, tall, fast, with strong hands? And down on his luck. And you take a backup quarterback to replace your guy that you don't necessarily believe in. Get a 2nd-round pick for both Mike White and Denzel Mims. Sign me up. 3rd-round pick. Sign me up. It might be like, hey, you get those 2 guys in like a 6th. You'll get the 6th that we got from Houston for Blake Cashman. And then you get a 2nd in return. That would probably be what the trade value is in my eyes. Like, that makes a lot of sense. And then you run 5 wide receivers. Jeff Smith is your 5th wide receiver because he's a special teamer. And then you run 4 deep at wide receiver, and then you just never let Jeff Smith see the field. And honestly, like, even if we had Denzel Mims, like, I would want it. Like, I love Denzel Mims. Like, don't get, like, I made a video about Denzel Mims that got 20,000 views. I love that guy. But that being said, you look at it and, like, I'm not saying Jeff Smith over Mims. That's not the point. You're misunderstanding the conversation. It's not Mims over Smith. It's the fact that Corey Davis, Garrett Wilson, Braxton Berrios, and Elijah Moore are over Mims. That Mims has to fight through those 4 guys to get playing time. That's the point. That Denzel Mims is going to be on the field so much less than we would like. And that by keeping him, it's like buying, right? Like a nice car, not a super expensive car, but like a nice car, and keeping him in the garage and keeping the car in the garage. And why do you keep the car in the garage? Well, because you got other better cars, right? You got a Lambo, got a Maserati, you got a BMW, you got a Mercedes, and then you got like a WRX in the garage. And I love a WRX. I drive a WRX. But are you going to pick the WRX over the Porsche and the other things? No. So that's the point. If we only carry 5 wide receivers, Jeff Smith plays special teams and he has that value. He probably gets the nod over Mims. You're not going to cut Mims. You have to trade Mims. I would package Mims into a trade package. And it would suck to see him go because I know he's a player that would get traded and ball out for another team. But that's what would happen. Who's tight end 1? Depends on the play call. Do you want a block? Do you want a catching tight end? It really depends. Really depends. So it just depends on what you want. Like in the red zone, it's probably Tyler Conklin. But if it's a running play, you're probably going to bring in CJ Uzama because he's a better blocker and he still has good enough hands that he can block really good at the beginning, peel off and still have strong catching hands. John, I've noticed Michael Carter goes down pretty easy when he hits a crowded line of scrimmage, whereas Bam Knight hits the same hole. He has a second gear and at least falls forward. So it's different. They're different play styles, right? It's your elusive back versus your power back. If you're running right up the box, if you're running right up the middle, if you're running in any kind of the vicinity that is the offensive line, you're absolutely right. Bam has, it's not a second gear because Bam doesn't have a second gear. He is not a home run hitting running back. He has one gear. The thing is that he has powerful legs and he can translate that power into and onto other players and hence fall forward. Michael Carter and Breece Hall, to be more specific, are both elusive backs. They're the guys that we really want running this offensive scheme because they're the guys that can, if they can beat you to the edge and get to the point where they make one cut and they turn up field and they go, they're home run hitters. Now, Breece Hall has a second gear, right? He's a true home run hitter. He's a guy that you hand the ball off to, and he can hit the end zone every single play. But what happens is Michael Carter is the guy that he turns up field, but he gets caught like 25 yards later, right? Because he doesn't have that afterburner that gets him to the end zone. And Sean Bennett, yeah, kind of. He's like a Camaro. Yeah, not even a Camaro. Like it's just like. He's like a Camry, you know what I mean? It's not like a Corolla, which is what like these undrafted free agent guys are. They're just like cars. You don't really, it's a car that everybody has, right? They're everywhere and all that stuff. But he's just, that's what he is. You know what I mean? Like you don't want to drive a Camry. It's a nice car. You don't want to drive a Camry. And that's what Jeff Smith is. And you're going to keep him in the garage, but you're okay with keeping the Camry in the garage. You're not going to spend the extra money to get the souped up WRX to keep him in the garage also. Sell the WRX. You'll get like 40, 50 grand for it. That's the point. Because you have a Porsche, you have a Lambo, and a Maserati, and then whatever you consider Braxton Berrios a BMW. You got those types of cars already. You want the Porsche, the Maserati, and the Lambo out on the field. And by the way, that's Corey Davis, Elijah Moore, and Garrett Wilson. And you got your BMW in the backup as a backup. You know what? I'll say it's a Mercedes as your backup. That's what you want. Those are the 4 cars that you want racing. Now, worst case scenario, if you have to pull out the WRX, you hope that you got a dirt track and that it's an off-road rally kind of thing, and it'll work every once in a while, but it's not what you want to do. Cameron Trammell, Breece Hall will put you on your butt to you play your cards wrong. Well, everybody can do that, right? We've seen Michael Carter fall forward, but he definitely does have the ability to drop a shoulder if he needs to. He's just not you don't want him running between the tackles, essentially. Like, he can do it, and he can bump outside and do all those things. But Breece Hall is the perfect wide zone running scheme running back. It's exactly what you want out of your guy, and like production-wise and all of that stuff. And yeah, you really, really like what you see there. But guys, I'm going to end the stream there. Berrios, you don't give it to Bam Knight. I love Bam Knight, but Berrios is an all-pro, not all-pro, but he's a Pro Bowl returner. Bam Knight, that would just be, you would be taking Berrios off just to take Berrios off, and so I wouldn't change that. I would keep him on there. I would keep Berrios there. But hey guys, I'm going to end the stream there, run it for an hour. If you don't know, I'm going to go and hang out over at Jeremy's chat, and Jeremy doing his Wacky Wednesday. So go over there, hang out, tell them you came over from Tigo's stream, and all that. But that's it, guys. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for hanging out. I really appreciate everyone who stopped by. Hit the like button if you haven't already. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Thank you. Thank you so much for stopping by. We'll see you next Wednesday, same time at 9, and hopefully Dom C will be here so we can do our next episode of Fantasy Island. But thanks for stopping by.